Okay, thank you so much for accepting the invitation, Mr. Rahab Wafiq, and that's the full simulation and is going to cover part 1, 2, and 3 IELTS speaking exam. Are you ready?
Yes.
Nice. Please make sure that you've got a pen and paper nearby because you will need them during the exam. And let's get started. May I have your name, miss?
My name is Rahab Wafi. You can call me Rahab.
All right. We're talking today about jewelry. How often do you wear jewelry?
Actually, I usually wear some pieces of jewelry during my day because they change my mood and I love them, especially earrings and bracelets, some rings like this. Moreover, I read before that they could give you a positive energy.
Beautiful, thank you. What type of jewelry do you like the best?
It's hard question actually because as I said before, I love most of them. But we can talk about a bracelet. I think I love it the most because I feel it's quite adorable and change my appearance, especially when I have guests. So when I put several types of them, they make my looking attractive.
Very beautiful. So when do people like to give jewelry in your country?
It's a good question because in Egypt we usually give jewelry to the groom and bride, basically, especially from the groom and his parents or his relatives.
Mhm.
So it's something traditional in our country that the groom has to give her something like a valuable prize or present before marriage.
All right. So have you ever given jewelry to someone as a gift?
Actually, yes, that was 1 year ago. I gave a ring to my daughter when she was 14 years old because I found out that she loved this kind of jewelry and she started to grow and wanted to feel that she wanted to be attractive and be something like a lady. So I gave it this ring, and actually, she was over the moon when she had it.
Very brilliant. Thank you so much. Now we're moving to the second part of the IELTS speaking exam. It's the cue card. And the cue card we have today is about an interesting TV program you watched about science topic. So I'm going to share my screen. Once you see it, please let me know.
Yes, I got it.
Amazing. Very good. On my stopwatch, you have a minute to get prepared. After this minute, you will have 2 other minutes to cover the questions of the cue card. Your minute of preparation starts right now.
Okay.
Thank you so much, my dear. Now you have 2 minutes to cover the questions of the cue card, and you may start.
Okay. Well, if you asked me about a show or TV show that I watched before, actually that was a week ago. I watched it with my family. It talked about how our homes will be in the future. And how artificial intelligence or AI will change them. Actually, it was very interesting because my kids were eager to know what will happen in the future, and they started to imagine some things. And actually, the the program said many things that I am not sure if they will happen or not. For example, it talked about that we will have a flying cars in front of our homes, and we will have two robots in our houses. One of them will be responsible for, would be responsible for our health. As soon as we wake up, it will measure our temperature to be sure that we are okay and we aren't sick, for example. And another other one will make our breakfast and some housework. Actually, I liked this idea because, as you know, I really wanted some robots to help me in this point. After that, it talked about very interesting matter that all the electricity will be changed, and it the all our appliances and equipment in our homes will be run by solar panels, which are installed on the roof of our houses. So we will not need electricity anymore, and of course that's a great idea because we will use sun and its rays instead of electricity, which causes which costed much. So we
Thank
started
you.
to talk about.
Thank you so
Okay.
much. Very good. All right. Now we're ready to move to the last part of the IELTS speaking exam, and it's part number 3. In part number 3 today, we have got some questions about science and the public. So, how interested are most people in your country in science?
Mm, it's a controversial question because many people said that we like or we are into science, but in my opinion, I think that Egyptians aren't into science actually. They prefer other fields or social media rather than reading or watching any scientific programs.
Very good. So, why do you think children today might be better at science than their parents?
It's a good question because in the past we couldn't understand many facts about science. We usually study them in our books. We wouldn't have an ability, or sorry, a chance to practice in experiments in our labs at schools. But nowadays, many schools are interested in involved these facts and these experiments in our schools. And the students love doing experiments by themselves. So they started to like science because they feel that they are something like fun and games. So that's good thing for them. We didn't have this chance in the past.
One final question. How do you suggest the public can learn more about scientific developments?
I think in my humble opinion, there are many ways. For example, they can watch some programs because nowadays there are many scientific channels like Gezira documentary and National Geographic Kids. They are amazing in this point, and they show these science facts in a very attractive way. So they can watch some of these programs. Also, they can read some scientific books, especially nowadays. Some writers started to write something like how science is fun. I read this title before recently, so I find it quite interesting to attract the readers.
Very good. Thank you so much, Mr. Hab Wafiq. Now let's move to the feedback part. And I'll be talking first about part number 1. Let me tackle the good points that I've seen. You have been able to use different starters like actually, it's a good question, it's a hard question, actually, one more time, compound sentences using because, when, and because again. Also, you have applied idioms. You have used over the moon by the end. You were able to expand your answer. You have covered each and every question very well, quite confident and natural using the language. So this is something very beautiful. If we need to add something extra, it would be the complex structure. Of course, you have been able to apply it in part number 2, but we didn't have a very good chance in part number 1. So using, however, despite, in spite of, not only but also, although these are quite needed, and it's very recommended to apply them even more. So when it comes to part number 2, you have introduced the topic very well. You have got the complex structure twice, if by using the connected F. You have also rephrased the word program into the word show, which is really good. How? Because after compound sentences, the passive voice is a good advanced grammar structure. You also had good word choice using the installed and solar panels. So the panels, these are really good words. You were able to cover all the questions except for the last one, right? Why you found this TV program interesting. You didn't have enough time, but as you can see, the cue card included a lot of questions. So you didn't manage to cover the questions of the cue card. Maybe we could, every time we maybe say something, we tend to give an explanation. Like, for example, what you learned from it, what you said what you learned from it, and you gave your opinion about it, and you said, like, okay, I learned this because or maybe I'm happy about this, or it was fascinating for me because. So giving that explanation somehow took some of your time. Tell you couldn't cover the questions of the cue card, or maybe the last question. So when you have like a cue card like this one, be very wise about the details that you're providing, especially if they're not required. So try not to waste the time providing maybe details that weren't really asked, and try to manage your time as much as you can, because it's quite crucial to cover the questions of the cue card. We haven't mispronounced any words except for the word changed. Changed. It's not changed, it's changed. Take care of the ed ending. In part number 3, using starters like it's a controversial question, a good question sometimes. You have good, you haven't had, of course, any grammar mistakes. You also had good starters, then you give the idea, then you explain the idea, except for the last question you provided an example, and you started by the example. So let me remind you of the way we develop our ideas. You give me the starter and then the idea, explain it, example. For example, when I asked you the question, the second question, why do you think children today might be better at science than their parents? You talked about that they have better chances. And you could also talk about the famous and the quite popular TV shows that they watch nowadays, or maybe the different schools that are specialized in scientific topics and scientific school subjects, and they adopt scientific mentalities, and also they hire people who teach them how to do experiments, like, for example, the STEM schools. So providing a good example will also enhance your answer. We didn't have any mispronounced words in part number 3, so that is up to 7 if we have applied maybe more complex structure and more idioms, because we have also used one idiom, over the moon. So we also have a chance to, that could be a strong 7 if we worked on these 2 points, more idioms and more complex structure. Thank you so much, Mr. Habofiq.
Thanks, teacher, and
Thank you
thanks
so
for
much.
this feedback.
Thank you so much, dear.